morning. This is L24 Midnight News coming to you live from the capital Algiers, and to the headlines. Algerian Foreign Minister Mr. Ahmed Attaf reviews with high-ranking American officials the continent issues and the Palestinian cause, stressing on the importance of strategic partnership and the need to open new horizons for bilateral economic cooperation. At the conclusion of the extraordinary summit, ECOWAS leaders affirmed that all options remains on the table, including the use of force to ensure speedy return to democracy in Niger. A Tunisian-Libyan agreement on the crisis of immigrants on the borders of the two countries and tightens border control to prevent the flow of illegal immigrants. Russian forces confirmed their progress along the front line in northeastern Ukraine, and Kiev announces the opening of a temporary corridor for commercial ships in the Black Sea. Hello again and welcome. I'm your host Abdurrahim Kashur, and those were tonight's top stories. First, Algerian Foreign Minister Mr. Ahmed Attaf had held talks with the White House coordinator for MENA region, Brett McCrory, as part of his visit to Washington. According to a statement by the Algerian Foreign Ministry, the two parties reviewed developments in the Middle East and the Palestinian cause, as well as the crisis in Libya, in light of the efforts led by the UN to create the necessary conditions for organizing elections. The Algerian Foreign Minister also spoke with the U.S. Assistant Secretary of the State, Dirk Koulet, with whom he discussed, among other things, the development of the crisis in Niger and ways of coordinating the efforts of the two countries to enhance the chances of peaceful solution in this brotherly and neighboring country. Meanwhile, during the meeting, the two parties agreed on an action plan that includes many steps aimed at promoting rapprochement and further confirming the importance of the strategic partnership linking Algeria and the United States, especially a future visit that is expected to be made by the members of the group of U.S. representatives, Democrats and Republicans, to Algeria next November, in addition to organizing soon a symposium in Washington on Algerian-U.S. cooperation in the field of energy and a conference on partnership between the two countries in the field of industry. At the end of his working visit to the United States, the Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf met with the U.S. businessmen and economic operators who are members of the Algerian-American Business Council. During the meeting, Mr. Ahmed Attaf made a detailed presentation on the economic dynamic that Algeria is witnessing and informed them of the most important development indicators achieved in recent years, which prove the significant improvement of Algeria's economy and financial situation. Attaf also stressed the need to open new prospects for Algerian-U.S. cooperation, especially with regard to exploiting the resources that Algeria possesses.
I met yesterday Secretary Blinken, with whom I had a very fruitful exchange, as candid, as full of expectations, confidence, and optimism. And let me tell you that you have been the subject of a good deal of our conversation. Indeed, we agreed on the need to strengthen the presence of American investors in Algeria, who I believe can play a decisive role in modernizing, energizing, and diversifying our economy while fostering closer the ties between our two friendly nations.
Earlier, Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf affirmed the commitment of the Algerian President, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, to strengthen the status of Algerian diaspora living abroad and to consolidate the ties that link them to the motherland through several measures and actions that the President took in their favor. This came in a meeting bringing together Mr. Attaf and members of the Algerian community in the United States as part of the working visit to Washington entrusted by President Abdelmajid Tebboune. The closing statement of the ECOWAS summit held Thursday in the Nigerian capital Abuja stressed the group's determination to keep all options on the table in dealing with Niger, including the use of force. In their statement, the leaders of the group called for the activation of ECOWAS reserve force, expressing their condemnation once again of the coup and the illegal detention of President Bazoum, as they put it, and they're renewing their commitment to restoring constitutional order in Niger through peaceful means.
All is not lost yet. The outcome of this summit is a testament to the power of collaboration and unity. We have reaffirmed our commitment to the people of Niger and to the progress of our entire ECOWAS community. And you will see from the communique of this extraordinary summit that no option is taken off the table, including the use of force as a last resort.
The ECOWAS leaders also stressed the imposition of measures on Niger, including the closure of borders and the freezing of assets of those who obstructed the restoration of constitutional order. To the final statement of the summit. In this context, the leaders of the group called on the African Union to support all decisions taken regarding Niger.
A reiterates its strong condemnation of the attempted coup d'etat and the continued illegal detention of President Mohamed Bazoum, his family and members of his government. Call on the African Union to endorse all the decisions taken by the ECOWAS authority on the situation in Niger. Direct the Committee of the Chief of Defense Staff to activate the ECOWAS standby force with all its elements immediately. Order the deployment of the ECOWAS standby force to restore constitutional order in the Republic of Niger.
The acting chairman of the ECOWAS group, President Tanibu of Nigeria, said that the group will continue dialogue with the concerned parties, including the coup leaders, to ensure a return to democracy as soon as possible.
Affirming our relentless commitment to democracy, human rights, and the well-being of the people of Niger, it is crucial that we prioritize diplomatic negotiations and dialogue as the bedrock of our approach.
In the same line of thought, the military council in Niger has announced the formation of a new government led by Prime Minister Ali Amin Zian, following the recent coup that struck the country. As an international concerns grow over the detention of President Bazoum and his family, the situation remains very tense. More in this report.
The military council in Niger, led by President Abdurrahman Chiani, unveiled a new government comprising 21 members, with the Prime Minister Ali Amin Zain at the helm. This move underscores the military council's determination to execute its coup plan. The announcement comes in the wake of Ali Amin Zain's appointment as Prime Minister, hours after the coup leaders declared their intentions.
The chairman of the National Council for Safeguarding of the Motherland, head of state, head of government today signed a decree appointing members of the government, Prime Minister, Minister of Economy and Finance, Mr. Lamin Zin Ali Mahaman, Minister of State, Minister of Defense National, Lieutenant General Salifou Modi, Minister of State, Minister of Home Affairs, Public Security and Territory Administration, Brigadier General Mohamed Toumba, Minister of Youth and Sports, Colonel Abdulrahman Amadou, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Cooperation and Nigerians Abroad, Mr. Bakari Yao Sangar.
Monsieur Bakari Yaou Sangari.
Amidst calls for return to constitutional order in Niger, voices from various quarters are demanding an end to what they deem the unlawful detention of President Bazoum. These concerns have echoed beyond Niger's borders, as the U.S. State Department expressed apprehensions about Bazoum's well-being and his family's safety. Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, voiced deep concern about what he termed the distressing circumstances of President Bazoum and his family's arbitrary detention, demanding their immediate and unconditional release.
The Secretary General reiterates his concern for the health and safety of the President and his family and calls once again for his immediate and unconditional release and his reinstatement as head of state.
As the international community is closely watching the unfolding situation, attention is now on Abuja, the capital of Niger, and the potential outcomes of the Economic Community of West African States Summit in terms of decisions. The future course of Niger's political landscape remains uncertain.
In a different topic now, Tunisia and Libya announced on Thursday a number of consensus on migrant crisis on their borders, as well as a number of other issues related to the movement of citizens and goods between them. Both Tunis and Tripoli held a meeting to consider a number of joint security issues, most notably the fight of combating irregular migration. More with Nabil Khazini.
The situation for migrants trapped here at the Libyan-Tunisian border is so dire. Most of them came from sub-Saharan African countries to cross the sea to arrive to Europe. They have reached a point of no return. All what they want now is a solution for their life-threatening conditions.
Here we have been drinking this river water. We need to get crabs and things to eat from the river, which is not fair. No food, no water.
See where people are sleeping. So many snakes are here, biting people. There is no solution for us till now. 1 month ago, no solution.
The breakthrough for their crisis has come. Tunisia and Libya announced Thursday that they had agreed to share responsibility for providing shelter for the hundreds of migrants stranded at their border, many of them for over a month. It was agreed to establish a joint field team to monitor the movement of the border crossing and to submit proposals on all related issues. Under the agreement, the two nations will take in the migrants who were stuck along the border.
The parties agreed on the need to further coordinate in the field of security as part of bilateral cooperation. This reflects the genuine brotherly relationship between the two peoples and the partnership between the two fraternal countries, particularly with regard to information exchange, training, and combating organized crime.
The bilateral agreement between Tunisia and Libya raises hopes to put an end to the crisis of illegal migrants stuck in the border area.
Algerian Minister of Energy and Mines Mohamed Arqab spoke today via a video conference with the officials of Russian Institute for Mining Research Karpinski and the geotech company, which is active in the research and exploration of hydrocarbons and minerals. According to a statement by the ministry, the talks centered on ways of cooperation in the field of exploration research, exploitation, and the mining training. The two parties also discussed the possibility of creating partnership between the implementing projects for the search and exploration of minerals, especially precious metals and rare earths. The Algerian flying company Air Algérie has announced that it has programmed 140 additional flights to and from France. A statement from the Algerian Airlines company said that the new flights aim to meet Air Algérie customers' growing demand, adding that the new trips to and from have been scheduled for the period between the 17th to 28th August 2023. Sahrawi President Ibrahim Ghali supervised the appointment of new members of the Constitutional Council. During his meeting with the President of the Constitutional Council, Mohammed Bouzid, Ibrahim Ghali had stressed the importance of this body, which requires it to continue its efforts within the framework of its tasks assigned to it, and to work with the rest of bodies and institutions of the Sahrawi state within the framework of complementarity. For his part, the President of the Constitutional Council affirmed his readiness for constitutional system to assume its place among bodies and institutions of the Sahrawi state. The Director of Operations and Advocacy at the United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, Idem Wasornu, said that millions of people are trapped in the humanitarian disaster in Sudan. In her briefing to the UN Security Council during an open session to discuss the situation in Sudan, UN official pointed out that sexual violence is practiced in Sudan on a disgusting scale, as she described it.
Nearly 4 months into this conflict, millions of people remain trapped in a humanitarian calamity that continues to grow. More than 4 million people have now fled their homes, 3.2 million people displaced internally in the country, and close to 900,000 people who have crossed the border into Chad, Egypt, South Sudan, and other countries. The alarming accounts of sexual violence that I heard from people who have fled to Port Sudan are just a fraction of those being repeated at a sickening scale from conflict hotspots across the country.
Also, the Assistant Secretary General for Africa, Martha Amma Akaya, said fighting in Darfur was deeply worrying and could quickly engulf the country in a prolonged ethnic conflict with regional spillovers.
This week, the Sudanese Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces both ordered residents to leave their homes in a part of Omdurman, declaring it an area of operations. The parties have exacted tremendous suffering on the people of the Darfur region. The fighting in Darfur continues to reopen the old wounds of ethnic tension of past conflicts in the region. The situation. This is deeply worrying and could quickly engulf the country in a prolonged ethnic conflict with regional spillovers.
Out of Africa to Asia, particularly to the Middle East, Palestinian crowds in Nablus mourn the body of the martyr Amir Khalifa, who was shot by the Zionist occupation near the town of Zawata. The Palestinian Ministry of Health announced the death of the 27-year-old Amir Khalifa after he was hit with 2 bullets to the head and back fired by the occupation soldiers during the aggression on the town of Zawata, west of Nablus. To the European continent, Russian Defense Ministry has announced Thursday that it had downed 13 Ukrainian drones targeted the largest city in Russian annexed Crimea and Moscow. The Defense Ministry said that the shot down as it approached the Russian capital of the Kaluga region, southeast the capital, and 2 other drones were hit by air defenses near Sevastopol. Meanwhile, the head of the regional military administration, Vitaly Koval, stated on Thursday that massive Russian drone strike destroyed an oil depot in Ukraine's western Riven region.
Today at night, the Riven region suffered a massive drone attack. Unfortunately, an infrastructure facility was totally destroyed, the oil depot in Dubno region. An emergency situations headquarters has been deployed, 45 rescuers and 14 pieces of equipment, including a fire train. The relevant investigative commissions led by the heads of the region's law enforcement agencies are also working. Radiation and chemical background are normal. The population will not be evacuated.
The Russian army has announced on Thursday that it has been reinforced in the northeastern Ukraine. Additionally, the Russian Defense Ministry announced that its forces improved their positions along the front line on the Kupiansk axis, noting that neutralization of 55 Ukrainian servicemen and 7 Ukraine counterattacks were repelled in different areas along the front during the past 24 hours.
In the Kupiansk direction, assault teams of the Western Battle Group improved their forward-edged position during offensive operations. Over the past 24 hours, they successfully repelled 7 counterattacks by units of the Ukrainian Army's 14th and 44th Mechanized Brigades in areas near the settlements of Novosyolovskoy, in the Lugansk People's Republic, Sinkovska and Mankovka natural area in the Kharkov region. The Ukrainian military lost over 55 troops, 2 armored combat vehicles, 3 motor vehicles, M109 Paladin self-propelled artillery gun, and the US-manufactured M777 artillery system.
In a related matter, Poland intends to send up to 10,000 additional troops to Belarus border to assist the border guard. The Polish Defense Minister stated in an interview with Polish radio that 4,000 soldiers will directly support the border guards and 6,000 will be in reserve, since hundreds of battle-hardened Wagner mercenaries arrived in Belarus last month at President Alexander Lukashenko's invitation. Poland has grown increasingly concerned about the border area. Belarus military exercises near the border continue this week, and President Lukashenko has stated several times that he is preventing Wagner fighters from attacking Poland.
We have to be ready for any scenario on the Poland-Belarus border. We do not exclude any, and that is why we decided to move the army closer to the border with Belarus, to strengthen the border, to scare away the aggressor. That's what we mean, to scare away the aggressor so that the aggressor does not dare to attack Poland. It will be about 10,000 soldiers on the border, of which 4,000 will be directly engaged in operational aims to support the border guard. 6,000 will be in the reserve. These soldiers will be there to improve their skills in the garrisons recreated in the eastern part of our country.
Ukraine announced a humanitarian corridor on Thursday to let dozens of cargo ships trapped in its port sail into the Black Sea, where shipping routes are under security. The routes would primarily be used for civilian ships which have been in the Ukrainian ports. A spokesperson for Ukraine's Navy said the corridor will be very transparent and that cameras will be put to show that this is purely a humanitarian mission and has no military purpose. To Latin America, Ecuadorian President Guillermo Lasso on Thursday declared a state of emergency and announced 3 days of national mourning following the assassination of presidential candidate. As part of the state of emergency declared in the Latin American country, troops were deployed across Ecuador on Thursday as 6 people accused of plotting the assassination of presidential candidate Fernando Villavicencio are due to appear before a judge. And now more international news all over the world, in this report by Mohammed Khato.
In Somalia, local media announced that 5 members of the government forces were killed after the detonation of an explosive device in Dar es Salaam, north of Mogadishu. Meanwhile, the Somali news agency stated that 6 people were killed on Wednesday after an explosion that targeted a passenger bus in an area on the outskirts of the capital, while 12 others were injured. Lebanese Interior Minister Bassam Maulawi has announced that the caretaker Defense Minister Maurice Slim survived on Thursday after his car was hit by gunfire while he was inside a vehicle traveling in the Jisr al-Bashara on the southeast edge of the capital Beirut. According to Defense Ministry, Interior Minister Bassam al-Maulawi said an investigation is underway to find out whether the minister was targeted or if the incident was the result of stray bullets. Silo operator Sika Atlantic said a fire broke out on Thursday at grain silos in the French port of La Rochelle in France. According to the local prefecture, the fire started on a conveyor belt at around 8 a.m. In addition to that, around 120 firefighters brought the blaze under control, helped by a 72-meter high lift platform to access the conveyor belt above the grain silos. Hundreds of flights and high-speed trains were cancelled and businesses shuttered in the South Korean port town of Busan after Typhoon Hanun made landfall on Thursday. In footage and photographs provided by South Korea's National Fire Agency, rescuers were seen evacuating trapped residents and pulling submerged cars. According to the Interior Ministry, around 350 flights and 410 train routes were cancelled and more than 10,000 people were moved to safety.
With this roundup, we reach the end of our news bulletin. Thank you ever so much for taking part with us in this late hour. For more updates, you can follow our social media platform. And all I can say at the end, take care of yourself. Good night.